Hello everyone, welcome back. In this part, we're going to talk about advanced topics of functions in JavaScript. First of all, you need to know all things about functions that we have a video about that, which is going to be linked in the description and card in the top corner. So if you haven't watched that, first watch that video, then come to this one. So first of all, here what we're going to start with is how we can declare our functions. The very simple way that we can do that is by using our function keyword right here. Then the name of our function, for example, here I'm going to use add. Then we have these parentheses and these curly braces that we have our code inside of these curly braces. The second way that we can do the same things is remove this name from here. We have this function right here, then assign that to variable. So we give the name right here, then equal that with the function right here. One other way after this, because our functions are type of objects, we can create them by using our new keyword right here, then using our function objects right here, which is going to run its constructor. And this is going to receive from us several items. First of all, it's going to receive from us if we have any parameters that we want to input to our function. For example, let's say we have A and B and we want to add them together. So we need to give them in a string. So here we use this A, then we're going to have our B. And for the third parameter, again, we need this string. And inside of this, we need to have our code that we want to put inside of our functions. So basically, if we have simple function right here with the name that it's here, we want to have this one, but in different syntax. And let's return A plus B. And if we want to have this function, but declaring it with this syntax, we need to put the code that we have inside of our curly braces inside of this string. And now this is as same as this one. And other way of declaring functions is our arrow functions, which in this case, we create a variable, then assign that to these parentheses, and we use this arrow symbol right here, and then we have our curly braces right here that we can have any parameters here and use them inside of our code right here. Let's say again we're going to have values of A and B right here, and our code is console log A plus B. If we run this, of course, we need to call that, so we use this add with these parentheses. Then we put some number for the A and other one for the B. And now if we run, of course, we're going to see the result right here. But we can have some default values. So let's say we don't have B right here. If we run this like this, you can see that we got error of not a number. But if we give this default values, this will not happen. And what we can do this is after we have our parameter right here, we assign that with some number. And now if we run this time, you can see that again we got the result. And of course we can have our B here again with different number, and this one is going to override this value and B is going to be 3 here. But if we have nothing as B imported here in our call section, B is going to grab value of 6. So now if we run, you can see that we got this 7, which means B is 3. And we can do the same thing with our A right here. Now, if we use our simple call with no parameters inside of this and run, you can see that we got 7. Let's actually change that to we have some different numbers. Now, if we run, you can see that we got 8. And let's only make our A to be, for example, number 5. If we run, we got the 11. And of course, if we have another one for the B, we got the result of both. But let's say we want to have multiple items right here. So we need to declare all of them just like this and go on. and use them right here. But if we don't know how much parameters that we have right here, one of the ways that we can do is assign all of them 0, just like this, or have another option that we can use, which using our rest parameter, which is going to be 3 dots right here, then the name that we put right here and we want to use. So let's say here we use the name of A right here. And here we want to console log our A only. Now, if we have only one value right here and run, you can see that we got array with our number inside of it. But if we have two of them and run, we got two items. And just like this, if we have many numbers that we want right here, we're going to receive all of them inside of array right here, as you see. And of course, we can do anything with this. For example, let's say we want to wrap them in our for loop, which is going to be I0 right here. And while I is less than our length of array, we want to console log our A's that item. And by doing this, we're going to print all of these separately. And if we run, you can see that we got that result right here. Then we have our self-invoking functions. And what these are is basically functions that they are going to be run before we call them. So what I mean is, let's say we have our function of f1 and we don't have any parameters right here, but we want to console log number 5 into our console. If we run this way, you can see that we got no result right here because we need to call our function right here. And this time if we run, you can see that we got the result. But one way that we can do the same thing is wrapping our function and removing the name of our function. And after this, at the end, we need to have another parentheses. So think of this way, that here we have our function name right here, and then we have this calling parentheses right here. So instead of that, we put our function in these parentheses and then we call them. And this time if we run, you can see again we got our result right here. As you know, our functions are objects. So if we have our function right here with the name of f1 and no parameters right here, and we have our console log right here of 5 again. If we check the type, so we use console log, then type of our f1 and run our code, you can see that this is function. But as we know, functions are objects. So what this means is that we can use our object on our functions. For example, we can use our this2string method right here, and if we run, you can see that we got string of our functions. So this is what our f1 to string have returned to us, a string version of our function. And pay attention that we have this function keyword, name of that. If we have any parameters right here, for example, let's say we have A and B right here. If we run again, you can see that we got those two and all of the things that we have inside of our function. The next topic that we're going to talk about is our method reusability and borrowing in our objects, which uses our functions. So what I mean is, let's say we have our person object right here with the name of temp. And after this, we have another object here, which is going to be our methods. And inside of this, we have method of tell name, which is going to be function, of course. And here we simply want to console log this dot name. As you know, we don't have any name right here inside of our methods. So if we run our methods dot tell name and run our code, we're going to have nothing right here and undefined printing into our console. But we want to use this method of tell name inside of our person. So what we can do is we are going to use our apply method. So here we use our methods right here, then the name of our function that we want to run. Then after this, we put another dot and use our apply method right here. And inside of these parentheses, we give the object that we want this function run on that. That's going to be person right here. So we use the name of person as our object right here. And this time if we run, you can see that we got the result of Tim and we using this function on this object. But in another cases, let's say we have this to be person 1 right here and we have person right here. We got the name for this too. Let's say this is going to be John, and we want to use again this function right here. You know that we can use our person1.tellName method right here, and if we run, we got the result of John right here because it's going to refer to this name. And if we use this dot apply and give the name of our first object right here and run, we got the Tim. Last thing that we want to cover here is our nested function. So let's say here we have our simple function right here with the name of f1, and it's going to receive no parameters from us. And inside of this, we're going to have our console log of f1 function right here. And after this, here inside of our function block, we want to declare another function. So let's say here we have our function of f2 right here, which again is not going to receive any arguments and any parameters, but here it's going to console log f2 function. And pay attention here, if we run our f1 right here, we don't get our f2 function run because we have not called it right here. If we use here f2 function and run, we got error of f2 is not defined. But if we use this f2 function right here inside of our f1 function, so we call that, actually let's call that 3 times, and we run our f1 function. If we run, you can see that we got printing of f1 function 1 time and f2 function 3 times. And that is because when we run our f1 function, it's going to come and run this function. First, it's going to execute this one, then create this function, and after this, we're going to call that function 3 times after each other. Please give a like and subscribe to catch next videos.